Well, hey, what do you say, Frankmeisters? Welcome to the show. Let's welcome Kristin behind the crime door alongside with me, my true crime companion here. Hi, Kristin. How are you?
I'm good, Frank. How are you?
I hear you're a little bit under the weather.
I am, but I'm here.
Oh, well, that's good. If you feel like you can't be here, I would understand if you have to leave.
Yeah, no, I'm good right now. So
So we've got some things to talk about.
we absolutely do.
Some things that I uncovered and I shared with you, and you was like, "What?" I said, "Yeah." So let's give a shout out to everybody that's jumped into this chat real quick before we get started. Let's give a shout out to CJK, Roxana. Hey, there's Mir. Good to see you. Grab it. Miss Susie H. Good to see you. Kibba, what's going on, buddy? John France. Delphi After Dawn. What's going on, buddy? Heidi Nixon. Beyond the Evidence. Joe Newman. Maureen. SP74, Sleuth Reloaded, Sparky, Rescue. Good to see you.
Hey, Rescue.
I hear you're only listening tonight.
Hi, sister.
Hi, bestie.
Hey, now.
Who else we got in here?
We'll fight over her.
Ziggy. What's going on, Teddy? Good to see you, brother.
Hi, Teddy. How are you?
Miss Mustang, V. Marie.
Hey, Deb. Deb's here. Our sweet Deb.
Yep. I met somebody who came and visited me for a while, Deb, last night, and she's just like you.
Aww.
She's a church goer, and she lets me know if I get out of line with my words. Believe that. See through. Miss Laura, it's good to see you. There she is, Deb's True Crime Notebook. Well, she's been doing a hell of a job on all this stuff that's been coming out here lately, guys. If you have not been over here for her channel, please go check it out. Peggy Day, Big Country, what's going on? That used to be my nickname, Big Country.
I love it. Hi, Shane. How are you?
Gambies, good to see you. Lakeside Justice.
Hey, Mustang. Hey, Joe.
Well, it looks like we're caught up so far.
Joe said he sent you an email. Did you get it?
Unless he's using another name, I did not see it. You might want to send it again, Joe.
He said he's going to resend it.
Okay. But I have been pondering this tip by Ricci Davis. So I started digging and digging.
They're asking me to show my nails.
Oh, I'm like, what is she doing? Like I said, I was stumped for a minute. I kept looking at it and I said, man, something's just not right with this damn note, whatever you want to call it. So I started reading it and I started reading it and I started reading it again over and over and over, and I found it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up that letter, guys, and show you something. It's not only there, on there. You just give me a second. All right.
Hey, Farmer.
Farmer's in the house?
Farmer is here. I haven't seen him forever.
All right, Windows.
Hey, Randy. I don't know if I said hi to you. How are you, my dear?
Oh, where do we go? All right. That's big enough, guys, okay? Now, if you read through this note, whatever it is, it says Ricci Davis's signature, and then he's got his name printed. But look at the date, okay? Remember this date, 6/21/17. Now, I'm going to go over to the Orion, or is that how you pronounce it?
Orion.
Orion. And I want to show you guys something. Come on. All right. All right. Remember that date I told you guys, 6/21 of 2017. Narrative submitted by Melissa Stewart, 5/15 of 2017 at 10:40 a.m. in the morning.
Those are important dates, just so you know.
Ricci Davis's tip was tipped in May, not June 21st, which told me that somebody else turned this tip in, not Ricci Davis. Okay? So I started pondering, and I was talking to a couple of people about this, and I said, who in the hell could have been the person to tip this in? And it's word for word, okay? Down here, word for word from Ricci Davis's note, okay? So what I did, I went to Ricci Davis's Facebook page, and I went to his friends list and started sending out a bunch of messages, and I didn't get no reply until this evening at 5:27, I think it was. And I'm going to pull up the messages from this person. Give me a second.
We all love how Frank has this investigatory prowess, don't we, guys?
I was tripping
because he knows how to dive and go in and find the meat and the potatoes.
Gotta go back. No, that's not the one. There's several of them. It's got to be right here. Okay.
But these crazy people that are still claiming Ron Logan did this, they need to pay real close attention to what Frank is showing right now.
Okay. So this person responded to me finally, and I said, well, good afternoon. My name is Shane Kersage. I run a podcast on YouTube called True Crime Talk with Frankmeister. I'm reaching out to find out how you know Ricci Davis. It was a female. She said, I know him. And I said, well, how do you know him? His ex-girlfriend. Okay. And I said,
hold on a second, Frank. No support with Steffa. He's not saying that Ricci Davis didn't write the statement on June 15th. It's just that statement is not the date that the tip was turned in. The tip was turned in May by someone else. Frank went and deep dove and found out who the tip
was originally filed by. Yes,
it came from Ricci Davis's girlfriend,
ex-girlfriend. And I said, he allegedly turned a tip in regarding Ron Logan being the killer of Abby and Libby. What do you know about this? She said, he didn't turn it in. I did. And then she said, do you recall when you turned that tip in? So let's go to the next one. And she asked me to protect her identity. As you can see, I had to mark out her name and all that stuff, guys. And she said sometime in mid-2017, and she said she thinks it was May, maybe. How did you learn of this information? She said, oh, well, I was talking basically with Ricci on the jail phone. Okay. And I said, what was the intent on turning this information in? She said, we were aiming to collect the reward money. I said, what? And I said, really? How's that turned out for you? She said, we haven't heard anything since the Christmas of 2018 about that time. And I said, well, thank you for your response. And she said, I already got that part. I'm on the last page. And she says, you're welcome. Please keep this private. I do not want my identity to be out there, please. And of course, I obliged her because she doesn't need the harassment, right? So that's why her logos are blocked out and her name. So nobody can try to find who this girl is, okay?
Yes, they wanted to reward money.
Yes, they wanted to reward money. And So I started mind boggling about, everybody keeps saying, well, what about the box knife, box cutter, box knife, whatever term you want to use for the weapon that Ricky Allen claimed that he used. Now, you guys got to remember, Dr. Core made it very clear. He said it's his opinion that it could have been a box cutter. He wasn't positive.
Right.
Ricky Allen said he used a box cutter, okay, in his confessions. But what has happened since then, those confessions? He's recanting, correct? Saying that they were all false confessions. He never said any of that stuff, okay? So me and Kristin sat back and we were sitting there talking about Dave Erskine's. Remember when Dave Erskine's put that text out there and said that Abby was basically decapitated? And I started thinking about that. If you guys ever watch a lot of true crime about any murders where the people are dismembered, what kind of weapons are they using to dismember people? Okay? You're going to either use a saw, a hatchet, a machete, a sword, or something of that nature. But you got to think about this. How are this individual going to conceal this those kind of weapons? They're not going to be able to because they're too big.
Libby was not decapitated.
No. And when he said that, and we saw the autopsy report and all that, and the photos at the trial, Libby had wounds that were vertical, not horizontal. When you get a decapitation, it's usually horizontal cuts, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Not vertical. Mm-hmm. And then I started thinking, well, then you have to go to the next type of weapon, a sharp-edged weapon. It could be a knife. It could be a box cutter. It could be a carpet knife.
Mm-hmm.
Then me and you just started discussing this again. You cannot stab somebody with it. You can, but more than likely you're going to break the blade off in somebody if you try to stab them.
With a box cutter, that blade is very small
and very thin
most of the time. There are some box cutters that have a little bit longer than the old-fashioned kind. When I think of a box cutter, I think of that silver that we had growing up. There was only one kind. It was a silver gray handle, and it was just a really short blade. They have longer ones and thicker ones now that are much more deadly in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right, because of how that blade is made, when you're going into a human body and flesh and bone, you have a really good chance of breaking that small blade.
And what kind of motion do you do when you're killing somebody with a knife? Stabbing
them.
Correct.
Big Country 48, to become a member of Frank's channel, if you're on your phone, there should be, unless you're on an iPhone,
right,
there should be a join button. If not, you'll have to do it from your computer.
Right. And if you use a knife, the most logical way that people are going to kill somebody with a knife is with stabbing, correct? So if you use a box cutter, any common sense person would think, well, if I try to stab them with this really thin ass razor box cutter, it's not going to penetrate like a knife would. And more than likely, you're going to break the blade off inside somebody.
It's more for slashing.
And that's why
you can do a lot of damage quickly with a box cutter.
Yes.
If you know what you're doing and you've had training in the military on hand-to-hand combat and how to dispatch your opponent quickly, they're going for the neck injuries. Yep. You know what I mean? That's what they're doing.
It's this soft tissue right here in the neck.
And 9/11, that's exactly how
they did it on the plane.
The same way.
And I do believe that he had a hold of Libby from behind and was doing this on her neck. It's the only explanation.
And Joe, I think you're right. I told Frank today that I think Rick Allen carried a box cutter like a lot of men carry pocket knives. I think for him it was similar to a pocket knife because he used it so much at work.
Right, when he was offloading trucks and opening boxes to take stuff out. Right. And I said, there ain't no way that Ron Logan could have done this. No way. And the reason why I say this, because if you go back to Nicole Robinson's PCA on Ron Logan,
God.
she said the girls arrived at the trails at 1 o'clock, which we all know that was false.
Yep.
She gave us bogus coordinates to where the girls were located, which, Mr. Teddy, I commend you for going back out to that crime scene and actually finding it for us. Okay? The crime scene is actually around 100 feet away from where the coordinates were that Nicole put on the PCA.
Teddy's awesome. We love Teddy.
You know, and I'm sitting there going, okay. And then you also got to remember when Ron Logan got a copy of all that stuff from whoever he got his documents from, would a guilty man turn around and give documents accusing him of murder to Barbara McDonald if he was guilty? Think about that. All you Ron Logan supporters, lover, whatever you want to call them. And another question I've got for all them people. Why the hell did the defense all of a sudden abandon the onus theory? Think about that. Are they grasping at straws and throwing spaghetti at the wall to see if it sticks?
They absolutely are. And you know, my big thing with this, guys, and I did a brief live earlier this week and told you guys this, but my opinion is, and I talked to my judge friend about all of this, and he's weighed in on it as well. And he said that this is a nothing, really. Mm-hmm. It's just an attempt at the defense to try to show that they've done everything they can to defend their client. But they were so big at trial and pre-trial on the odinous theory. Nowhere in the realm of their filings was Ron Logan. No. They weren't talking about Ron Logan. They didn't mention Ron Logan. They didn't even allude to the fact that Ron Logan is the guy until now.
And my opinion, the reasoning is all this information from Ricci is all hearsay. And it is clear in the law that it's hearsay because a person. Yeah,
that will never get in. This motion's going to go nowhere.
Right.
I mean, it's just not there. It's not going to get in.
You cannot tell somebody something and then this individual related in court to be fact. That's the way they look at it. And another thing, they would not be able to call Ron Logan to stand to confirm what he said because he's deceased.
No, the crime scene is exactly where law enforcement said it was.
But Nicole was saying...
But the FBI, in their probable cause PCA for the search warrant on Ron Logan's house, was not.
It was about 100 feet away. Somewhere
and as we also know in that PCA, for whatever reason, this seasoned FBI agent decided to write that there was the crime scene was devoid of blood.
And which we
all know is absolute bogus bullshit.
Right. We've seen the photos.
I mean, there is just no way.
It doesn't matter if he got there at 2:35, 2:40. It doesn't matter.
Nobody's going to be exact. It doesn't have to be exact. All that did was bolster the prosecution's claim of when Brad Weber got home. And Brad Weber was there. He's who spooked Bridge Guy. Bridge Guy saw him or heard the vehicle coming, whatever. Then he saw it because he obviously describes it. And he said he saw it. He saw a van, whether he saw a white van, it doesn't matter. He said a van, which we know to be true.
And another thing is, they said the girls were deceased between 2:30 and 3:30. And you also got to remember, who's going to remember from 7 years ago the time that they got home? It's
Yeah.
always going to be a roundabout, which
Yep.
gives you leeway in the time.
There is never, we are never going to have exacts in a murder.
No.
You are never going to have exact time of death. You're never going to have this. I don't know why people think that you should. And people don't get convicted on exact timelines, guys. Where in the world did you ever think that or come up with that or say? Brad Weber has said from day one, he left work at 2:03 p.m. and arrived home at approximately. He didn't say I arrived home at such and such. And law enforcement has always had the stance that the girls were removed from the bridge. We know what time they were removed because of that. We know Libby's phone stopped moving, but just because her phone stopped moving doesn't mean that Libby was dead. I'm sorry. No. That's not what that means.
No.
And people just want to assume or surmise and write in their own narrative here. And we're never going to know that unless Rick Allen talks.
We're not going to know exact times. It's not possible.
Ever.
It is not possible.
We're never going to know that. And people who think that we should or that he shouldn't have been convicted because we don't have an exact time of death and we don't have an exact time that Brad Weber drove down his driveway. My God, you see him on a video. At least we know it's the approximate time.
Yeah, and the time frame.
Right.
You know?
Yes. And the only thing Ron Logan ever lied about, Frank, what is the one thing that Ron Logan ever lied about? He lied about driving.
Yeah.
He didn't lie about where he was, where he went, or what he was doing. He lied about the fact that he drove. You guys need to go watch The Inquisitor. Mm-hmm. He put out a really, really good video, and he basically is pissed because he's sick of these people touting Ron Logan, touting the Odinist, and he does his homework, you guys. He is amazing. He's a good friend. And I trust him. I've trusted him throughout this whole process. Go watch his video.
And another thing, the FBI was so hard on to make it Ron Logan, it's more than likely possible they were trying to frame him.
Oh,
honestly,
yeah. Absolutely.
To get the credibility for solving the case.
Yep. And SP74, you're absolutely right. It's exactly what I was saying. If the timestamp is 244 is correct, we don't know. Timestamps are not good evidence. We know that. They can be changed. But it just confirms that Brad Weber drove down his driveway during the time the girls were being assaulted.
Yep.
Period. We know that. We know when they were removed from the bridge.
And it goes back to the charging information also. Nick originally charged him with 2 counts of murder, okay? The only reason why he got charged with 2 counts of murder at the beginning is because they could not prove at that time that he was the actual physical killer. They know for a fact that he was the kidnapper. Now, if those girls were murdered in the commission of another felony, then you get charged with murder also.
Yep.
But as time went on, they couldn't find no evidence of any other actors.
No.
So then that's when he amended the charges to say, okay, if you're not going to tell us if there's anybody else involved, we're going to hold you accountable for the kidnapping and the physical murder of the girls.
And what Nick said when I talked to Nick at the sentencing,
we both did, yeah.
And we both talked to him. And when I, one of the things that Nick said was, I'm open. If people out there have evidence, if people have evidence that they want to bring me that I can prove, this evidence is provable evidence that there are other actors involved in this crime, bring it forward and he will prosecute them. But there is nothing. And he said that they looked and looked and looked for other actors.
Stephanie, you got to understand that the times are not going to be exact. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to get reversed. That's not a technicality in
they
appeal.
didn't say that the killer was stopped by Brad Weber prior to 2:30. They didn't say that. There was nowhere that they said that in court.
No.
They didn't say that during the trial, Steffa.
We were there. We heard word for word.
They did not say that. They know that everything was over by 3:30. As far as when things happened, they can only assume
or estimate.
They do not have exact time frames. They never will, because there was nothing that they could get to get exact time frames.
Constantine, no, he did not refuse a search warrant because he already knew that he had weapons in it. He informed them that he had guns and weapons in his house. He was just being honest and upfront with law enforcement.
Teddy's right. Whether or not Rick Allen lied about taking the girls across the creek when he saw the van, it makes no difference.
Exactly.
The fact is, he saw the van. It doesn't, I mean, he saw them. He saw this guy.
Yep.
Everybody's missing the big
point,
picture.
the big picture. And I see where Teddy's going with it. It doesn't make a difference if he took them across the creek or not. He's the one that kidnapped them and they ended up dead.
That's right. And that's exactly. He could have lied and already had them across the creek when Brad Weber came through. But if you listen to the interview that Jerry Holman gave, he told you what he thinks law enforcement thinks happened.
Yes.
And he believes that they were under the trestle right down the bottom of the hill, right where he took him. That took them. That is where he started to do the assault. That's where he thinks he was spooked. Yep.
And another thing, I keep hearing people talk about, what about the belt? The belt is a nothing burger.
Yeah.
There's a nothing burger. There's nothing to the belt. If you look at the photo of Abby on the bridge at the 207 mark, she is not wearing a belt.
It is a sad thing that this is going to go on for years for the families.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep. GP. Good to see you, GP.
People won't let it go. People won't leave it be and realize that justice was served. So, I mean, it's just like, you know, I don't know. People want exacts. People want, it's beyond a reasonable doubt, not beyond no doubt.
Right.
You know, and this is just one of the small pieces of evidence that was stacked against Richard Allen. Richard Allen is the guilty one. Richard Allen was found guilty by 12 individuals that knew nothing of Richard Allen or Ron Logan or Odinus until they sat in that courtroom.
Mustang said, whatever happened to the motorcycle cover? It was on the evidence list, but apparently it wasn't nothing they could use in this trial, so it never came out. So basically it was a nothing burger again. And it really it doesn't surprise me whatsoever. You got a convicted felon in prison for 40 years who was trying to get the reward money. Well, come to find out, anybody that's incarcerated in a prison is not able to apply for any award money. So the girlfriend's there. She can get the reward money if it was plausible. You see what I'm saying?
There was evidence seized through on the south side of the bridge that Holman was convinced something happened under the bridge. There were clothes. He said they found evidence under that trestle bridge that they knew that things started happening there. I said started. They didn't say that, you know, that things started and finished there. We all know that that's not true. We know that the things finished across the creek. We know the girls were led across the creek unclothed.
What is the prosecution's timeline given to the jury? You have to start at 2:13 when they were abducted. Okay? The timeline ends at around 3:30 because they believe the girls were deceased by at least 3:30. So the timeline's going to end right there.
And I don't know why you prefaced it with our prosecution. It's everyone's prosecutions. It's the state of Indiana's prosecution. It's not mine. The prosecution stated the times to the jury. The prosecution gave what they felt was a timeline based upon Libby's
cell phone
video and cell phone information. That's what they have to go on for time frame. And I feel that it backs up everything that they tried to point out that happened that day.
And another thing that I want to point out, their cell phone expert, do you guys realize they are paid to lie on the stand? She tried to say that when they extracted information out of her phone, that there was no information that something was plugged into her phone. When they pulled the extraction, there was no data for it. She was paid to lie to say that.
Hey, Ruckus. Yeah, Big Country 48, you can email me. Anybody can email me. Let's see. Behind the crime door at gmail.com. What was that? Hold on. I'm trying to see. Moonchild says, this is ridiculous. The defense team went hard on Odin's sacrifice the girls, and a box cutter was not the weapon used. Now it's Ron Logan on the bridge with a box cutter. Who will it be next? Exactly.
Let me tell you something. It was not Ron Logan on the bridge. That dude was 6'4".
And he was afraid of the bridge.
Heights.
He didn't like the bridge.
And
he didn't go out there walking on that trail either, according to who?
His wife and his son. Steffa, you know damn well that he does not walk them trails. You've ran into him a couple times riding that gainer. He will not walk to the trails.
The only thing being questioned is the defense's common sense. Well, we all know that the common sense isn't common. Not anymore.
No.
Not anymore.
Joe Newman said, prisoners or hustlers, straight up all they got to do is plan a scheme. Exactly.
Yeah, right. Because,
it's something that'll benefit. They want something that's going to benefit them. If it's time cut.
They were hoping to get the reward money.
Yeah.
And it was a huge thing, and they thought that they could do this. And what better way to do that than
create a story,
to create this scenario of, well, I was his cellmate. I heard all these things. Who's gonna refute that? Bottom line is, guys, it is hearsay, and there is a law in place in Indiana about hearsay.
Yep. Joe Newman says prisoners or hustlers, straight up all the way, going to do, like I said, do a scheme. And that's what they do. They'll do anything.
Ruckus was in the prisons with these people. He knows exactly what they do and what they say. I'm sure Ruckus could very well explain it.
I mean, they'll do anything to try to get time cut, whatever it takes to get some time taken off their sentence. But in this case, they were going for the reward money because he knew he was fucking wasn't going to get no time cut. He had a better chance to get the reward money than anything else.
Teddy said, the last thing before I peace, just because the phone stopped at 2:32 doesn't mean that Abby was already gone and laying on top of it. No, it doesn't. Absolutely doesn't.
That young lady was very smart when it came to the phone. She knew
how important it was. She knew that it was going to be needed, and she protected it.
And
they were both heroes. They were both absolute heroes.
Yeah. Marv has been to the South End and went down them hills. And you got to remember, I can't remember the deputy's name, but he testified that he's the one that had him guard the crime scene. Okay. On the 13th, he said he walked up Brad's driveway to start searching, and they found slide marks down the hill, which was an indication they knew the girls had gone down that hill, but where they didn't know.
Yeah, this Ricci person also failed a polygraph.
Terribly.
Failed horribly.
Yes. Yes. Let's see. Anything being challenged is the defense's common sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they won't explain why they abandoned the Odin theory.
Yeah, I mean, and it doesn't make any sense when you stop about how hard they went on it. So let me get this straight, Elvis Fields killed the girls with the help of Ron Logan using a box cutter? Is that what we're supposed to believe now? I thought it was an Odinistic sacrifice.
Right.
I mean, come on. Use your common sense. These defense attorneys are going to do and say anything at this point.
213 down the hill, 232, phone stops moving. That tells you right there they were already across the creek.
Yep.
At 232.
Yep. And at 232, if they're already across the creek, he certainly could have heard the van.
That's where I believe he got spooked.
I do too.
Honestly,
that's where I believe it too. I think that's why he ended up killing them.
Well, not only that, he was in the middle of covering them up when he got spooked, and he couldn't finish camouflaging them. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the whole thing is just a joke when you stop and think about when you go back and you really look at the Odinist theory that they have. I mean, that to me is just complete garbage.
Right.
But we've been talking about that now for 2 years, of how they put all of this into those Frank's motions and how they wrote it for the public.
And that's the reason why they didn't use the Ron Logan theory at the very beginning, because they knew it was hearsay. They knew it. And now they're going to try it again. And my opinion is, as soon as the appellate sees that, they're kicking it out. And what's the defense going to do next?
Yep.
They're either going to go after KK or Brad Weber.
Yep. And like Rufus said, Richard Allen was convicted, you guys. He's in prison serving his sentence. This is all appeal fodder. I do not see this going anywhere.
No.
My best friend's husband is a judge. He said this isn't going anywhere. This is not going anywhere.
And for any of you people
that do what they want, but it is rare that a unanimous jury verdict on double homicide is overturned. Sorry.
And for any of you out there that want to question a judge and an attorney who was voted in the top 5% as one of the best attorneys in the state of Indiana, I want you to call them liars to their face. Yeah. Honestly, I do.
Yes, Laura, I agree. He had to kill them because he kidnapped them. And even if they realized that they knew him at that point, he knew that they could identify him, and it was all over for him if he let them go. At least if he didn't let them go and unalive them, then
they gave him time to spend more time with his family.
That gave him more time to be with his
wife and daughter.
His wife and kids. But I think he panicked. I do think he panicked.
I do too. Steffa, if you feel like we were coming across yelling at you, I apologize. And it wasn't intended like that. So I do apologize.
Oh, yeah. No. I'm not yelling at you. I'm just I just get so frustrated with Ron Logan crap and how people can't let it go. I mean, it's just like the guy has passed away. He's not Bridge Guy. He doesn't look like Bridge Guy.
He's too tall.
He wasn't there during that time. It's not him.
Right. And then Ruckus says, anything that strays 1 inch from the Frank's motion is bullshit. Absolutely correct.
Yep. And also Ruckus said this is to prolong the appeal deadline, which was the purpose of them filing this.
Mm-hmm.
Because now Nick has to do a reply. They have to wait for the court to do. I mean, all of this is making other things and giving them more time to file an appeal.
You see this by Ruckus? There is a DNA FBI arrest because of lying on results. Now, 1,000 cases are being in review. Is this what we're saying about Nicole Robinson? She was so desperate to close this case to get a win for their agency. She's basically saying, screw Keller County and screw ISP.
Well, if that information that's just been put out there is from Jennifer Coffin Deffer or whatever her name is, I wouldn't believe it.
I don't like her anyway.
I don't trust her with a 10-foot pole.
No. Nope.
Sorry. She ranks right up there with the rest of the lawyers that are not practicing, that are practicing on YouTube.
Yeah.
If you go to law school and you have hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt because you went to law school, you're going to sit on YouTube and do YouTubing instead of practicing law? Give me a break. There's a reason that these lawyers are out on YouTube and not actually lawyering.
You're all right, Jinx. Thank you. But you're right. There's one, I'm not going to call him out by his name because I don't do that. But there's one attorney that's going all around these different platforms who doesn't even practice criminal law. He practices, his specialty is habeas corpus. He doesn't practice criminal law, so he's going around acting like he knows everything.
There's a lot of attorneys that are surrounded this case that boast that they're attorneys, and you'd laugh if you knew what kind of attorneys they were.
Like the one out in Seattle. She is an appellate attorney. Okay, for example. You know, and it's just like they're actually embarrassing themselves when they get on these channels and talk all this crap, because that one attorney I was talking about, he keeps saying, well, the hearsay rule does not apply in this case. Where in the hell did you get this information from? If Ron Logan is not present to testify, it is considered hearsay. He cannot come in and verify anything that he ever said. Come on. And it clearly states that in the hearsay law, Rule 801 in Indiana. I suggest everybody go read the Rule 801 of hearsay in the state of Indiana, and you'll completely understand what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
Now,
yeah, Dakota, it's my best friend's husband. He's the judge. And we've been best friends for 50 years, just so you know. Actually, longer than that now, 54 years.
And Smiley Rose says, well, damn, I'm impressed. The cuts being vertical make so much sense about a box cutter. It would be hard to make deep vertical cuts with a knife. Exactly.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I can't see Jinx either. Where is she?
She's lurking. She is doing her job behind the scenes. She's watching, believe that.
Hey, Jinxie. I love you.
They had already proven it was not Ron Logan anyways. I just don't see why people can't see that.
Yes, Jackie, absolutely. Big hugs, by the way.
You know, and I mean, somebody brought this to my attention in a Facebook group and said, well, Nick said he don't use the word clear. But if you listen to the wording he uses, instead of using clear, he's using those words that mean cleared, but not using the word clear. And I told him, I said, until then, he's cleared. When they find evidence on somebody else or Ron Logan, he is cleared until then.
Yeah. Aw.
Yeah, Ron Logan was Randy Gravitz's height. 6'4". And if you guys didn't notice with Ron Logan, everywhere he went, he wore those
boots.
Mud boots
those
with his pants. With his pants tucked in them. Everywhere he went.
Yes. Yep. And he drove his gator all over the place and all over his property. And
that's where they ran into him at the Freedom Bridge a couple times for the memorial walk. And that's how we know that he does not walk like that. He uses his gainer if he wants to get around the property.
Randy's just a big teddy bear. My
Yeah.
husband's 6'5".
My
So,
God.
yeah.
Hold on, I gotta check something. Hold on.
Randy's a teddy bear.
Kansas City's up 29-22 with 9 minutes left in the game.
Thank you for telling me that, because it's on in the other room. And,
Oh, yeah.
and I can't hear it.
I was like, man, I got to check this for because.
And I am like dying here because I want Kansas City to win.
Mustang says Ari is bridge toll and he and alive, Abby and living. He will die in prison for that. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Somebody asked me in a Facebook group why I'm not able to interview Lieutenant Holman. If you remember correctly, I put the message out by Lieutenant Holman. Since the new superintendent took over, he put an order in that no officer of his agency is to do interviews until further notice. Okay, yeah, guys?
Rescues met my hubby.
Oh, yeah,
and
I bet.
Jinx. They both met my hubby. But yeah, we are okay with that. Frank and I are okay with the fact of why they put a kibosh to Jerry talking, and I don't want to do anything to upset the apple cart with the state and the stuff that they have to do for the appeals. And if you notice, when Jerry was doing his interviews, he wasn't doing any of them live, and there was a reason for that. He didn't want to be put on the spot and be asked questions that he couldn't answer and how that might look. He was very
he was being coached.
He was being coached off screen on questions on whether or not he should answer or not answer.
Right.
And that is Nick making sure that nothing is said or put out there that's going to hurt the state.
Exactly. And I want to make something very clear. I have never, since I've been covering this case, have ever had contact with Nick McClelland by phone or by email. Just want to make it very clear to all the defense people out there. I have only met Nick. Well, I've actually met him a couple times in person, but only got to speak with him one time. And that was when me and Kristin were approached by Nick in the courtroom and said, Frank, Kristin, that's the only time we've ever spoken to him in person or by text or anything.
Yeah, I'd never met him before or talked to him. And I felt like I was in awe because, and I even told him so. I said, you know what, Nick, I'm going to put it right out there. I said, when you were assigned to this case, and when I realized it was going to be you that was going to be prosecuting this case, I was scared to death because I didn't think that you had it in you to handle this high profile of a case. I knew it was going to be a real hard road to hoe. And he smiled and looked at me and he said, I totally understand. And I said, and you hit it out of the park. I said, you remained professional.
Yeah.
You dealt with the craziness of this defense team. I said, and you kept the families and what happened to these girls first and foremost in your heart and your minds. And
he kept it in the forefront.
And I said, and you always wanted to get the right guy. You weren't going to let up until you got the right guy. And he thanked me for that. He thanked me for telling him that because they don't hear that.
Right.
They very rarely hear that. And even Jerry Holman said that to me. Kristin, thank you for supporting us because we always hear the negative stuff and not the positive stuff.
Right.
And I just want to put this out here. Frank told me something today on the phone that has really pissed me off. And now that I'm not feeling good, I'm just going to say it. But if there are any YouTubers out there or creators out there that are bad-mouthing Kathy Shank, there is a special place in hell for you.
She's an 80-year-old woman, guys.
Who the hell goes out after an 80-year-old woman and badmouths her?
Oh, you ain't seen nothing yet. You should have seen what channel did. Her daughter has got one of them private pages where you can go look at photos. He posted all that crap on his community page.
It's absolutely sickening.
And Jason says, Ricci Davis, was notorious for lying, and it's facts. He has been convicted of fraud, forgery, theft, methamphetamine possession. That's why he's serving 40 years.
Yes, exactly. Exactly, Jason. Absolutely the truth. I mean, again, I love how people are real quick to want to believe a crook in jail for all the things that he's in jail for, but they won't believe Richard Allen when he confesses 61 times. Somebody just scored a touchdown.
Uh-oh. Hold
Who
on.
scored a touchdown?
I'm about to find out. Nobody.
Oh.
There's 6 minutes left, still the same score.
Okay.
And Marv from Beyond the Evidence, he nailed it. And the fact that he failed the polygraph says volumes.
Oh, yeah.
Says volumes.
Oh.
And everybody needs to give prayers out to Ruckus, too. He's got some serious medical issues going on right now, guys, and we need to be looking out for him because he's like family to us.
We love him so much, and he's an amazing person, and
yes,
and yeah, all the loves and all the hugs to my dear friend Ruckus.
Miss Deb says Ron was tall, the person on the bridge was short. That's why his pants were bunched up at the bottom. Short man syndrome. I've got the same problem. I am 5'11", and I cannot find jeans long enough to cover my ankles. So I have to get a size longer. And when I put them on, the bottom of the pants are all bunched up down at my feet.
They said it's tied. The Buffalo scored.
No, it didn't show on YouTube or on ESPN. No. Oh, yep, there it was. It's tied. Yep.
Oh my gosh.
6 minutes left. Beyond the Evidence says we don't know, and the prosecutor in Holman said we may never know exactly what happened after they crossed that creek.
If he doesn't talk, we never will. It's all speculation.
Yeah.
We can speculate till the cows come home on how we think it went down. All I can tell you is that nobody plugged headphones into the jack.
Nope.
That was not what happened to the phone. That was testified to in court.
Yep.
Come on. Hi, Phil Bond. I just think that people need to,
Constantine says exactly, Mark. A lady tried to tell me FBI used a low score as a passing the polygraph. I've researched about polygraphs. Anything, well, I mean, it's kind of contradictory because I found something and then Deb found something contradicting what I found. What I found, it says that anything -6 or higher, you have completely failed the polygraph. Now, what Deb found is that anything -6 or higher, you pass the polygraph. So we need to get a clarification on exactly what failing the point system is to fail on a polygraph.
There is a reason that the polygraph is not admissible evidence in the court of law, you guys. Law enforcement uses the polygraph for a completely different reason than what most people in this chat and most people in the general public think polygraphs are used for.
It's not to see if you're lying. They want to see if you're deceptive, and that gives them more reason to even question you more. It's a
exactly
tool.
They want to see if you how you react to being polygraphed. They want to watch that, and they also want to see when you are showing deception, why and when that is, and is there something that you're hiding? What are you hiding from them?
Right. Let's see. Gamby says she wasn't very smart for admitting that they said it just to get money. There got to be some law against knowing falsely accusing someone. That's disgusting behavior. And that's common for any type of prisoners.
I was just going to say, are you kidding me? Let's go back to Rosie and Baldwin. They threw how many? Five? Was it 5 men under the bus?
Oh, yeah.
They were responsible for murdering 2 teenage girls. No matter what you think of them or what kind of human beings you may think those men are, even if they do belong to these subculture type of groups, They didn't deserve that. That
No.
is disgusting behavior. And they're members of the court.
Yep.
They are officers of the court, and they were doing that.
Yep.
They falsely accused these people, knowing damn well that there wasn't evidence to prove that they did it. They only did it to put out there to help their client.
Barb from Beyond the Evidence says anything with a -3 means strongly deceptive. On a polygraph, that is.
Yep.
Exactly, Marv. He could have seen the van from the crime scene. And that's what we've always thought that he was spooked somehow. We just don't know how, if it was somebody driving up the driveway or if it was Derek yelling for the girls on the trails.
Because, he saw it, he heard it, and he knew, I got to get out of here. And no matter what was going on at that moment, in his mind, I got to get out of here before somebody sees me.
Right. Stage Left even says, in my opinion, it shows desperate as fuck for the defense to abandon the whole onus theory after the trial to now crawfish back to the Logan theory.
Oh, they are desperate, but they've been desperate for a long, long time. And I would just hope and wish that the people that are out there that we call scarecrows and delulus would realize that.
Right. Let's see. Brian Emery says, Jerry Holman seemed not certain that RA just came upon the girls by coincidence. Do we know if Libby's phone was factory reset and what kind of info could have been lost? The factory reset happened a week prior. Her Aunt Tara reset it because she was having problems with the phone.
It was an old phone.
Yeah, that's why it was reset.
Yeah. And, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go down that path and accuse Kathy and his daughter of what they knew or didn't know.
Because we don't know.
At this point, we don't know. Nothing has been proven. And what we think doesn't matter.
Right.
I believe that if law enforcement felt that Kathy Allen knew that Rick Allen was the bridge guy, they would have charged her. I firmly believe that Nick wants to get everyone who is involved or involved prior to, during, or after the fact of this. And just so you know, if you harbor
a fugitive
in any way, shape, or form, you are culpable in the crime and can be charged as such.
Right.
So I know for a fact that if Nick felt that anybody knew that Rick Allen was responsible and didn't turn them in, he would have prosecuted them.
Yeah.
You got to be able to do that.
Right. Beyond the Evidence, he had to unalive them after he kidnapped them. He couldn't let them go. They saw him in his face at that point. I honestly believe that he unmasked and they knew who he was. That's otherwise, why would you have to kill him if you're masked up? You see your face covering.
Yeah.
I think once he was unmasked, they recognized who he was.
I firmly believe, you have to stop and think. And for all of you guys out there that have never been to Delphi, I get it. It's hard to understand how tiny of a community this is and how small it is when you're talking about places to go out in public. But the CVS, is right next door to McDonald's where he worked.
The Dairy Queen's right there.
Queen is right there, which is where Kelsey worked.
And then you have the Aldi's grocery store.
You have the Save-A-Lot. Save-A-Lot. And all of that is right there. And the Dollar General, I think, is there. Or the Dollar General is all right there.
The Pizza Hut.
And the Pizza Hut. And it's all right there.
Yep.
So all those places are right there. You can't tell me that if he was that profile as far as a manager at CVS, that the girls didn't see him, because they went in there. They went into that CVS with their parents or alone.
Or go in there to get candy.
Exactly.
Or whatever.
Or, grab a soda or whatever.
That's just normal teenage behavior.
Exactly.
Who in our right mind when we were teenagers? I know what I did when I was a teenager. We were at
He
the
would
mall.
stand outside smoking.
Yes.
He stood outside that CVS smoking.
And
he
Sleuth got a picture of that.
He could watch everything that was going on, and he backed in.
Yep.
Another
thing.
Thing.
Hide his license plate.
He backed in at work at CVS, you guys. He backed in. He also backed in at the CPS building.
Yep. And like I said, once this gets kicked to the curb, Brad Weber, watch out. KK, I don't care if you watch out because you're a piece of shit anyway. KK would have been at the easiest point to. They haven't because they don't want to shed light on their connection. There is no connection.
There is no connection.
They couldn't find one, Hottie. Sorry, I didn't realize that was you. But it does make sense that they would know each other because they lived in the same town at the same time. It does. It adds up. But
I think it's coincidence that the Peru situation, again, it's a very small area around Delphi and all these small towns. And one of the things from being from a small town kind of vibe that I am as well, and that's farming community, people know each other. And even if they did know each other, I do not believe that there is any connection between Keegan Kline and Tony Kline and Rick Allen. If there is, law enforcement couldn't find it. And trust me, they looked. They looked.
Laura says, I've got some more sleuthing to do. Get with me after the show, Laura, and let me know what you're talking about, please.
That's one of the things Jerry Holman told Frank and I. They looked for a connection. They couldn't find anything.
Nope. And don't say, I mean, the people out there that are back in the defense and don't say, well, they're trying to hide something, they're lying about something. You don't know that. You do not know that.
They don't have anything. They don't have anything to lie about. They don't have anything to hide. They wanted the killer of the two girls found. And thanks to Kathy Shank, we found him. It's that simple. I know it doesn't. I know that Occam's razor doesn't mean much to anybody, but it's usually the simplest explanation. It isn't some convoluted conspiracy theory stuff that's out there.
Let's face it. R.A. put himself there dressed like the killer. BB identified, Betsy Blair identified him by his clothes, and BB Fitbit shows the time, and she passed the girls going to the bridge. No one else was ever around there. Then you tell me, not towards you, Barb, if Ron Logan did it, how come the girls didn't see Ron Logan, and how come Richard Allen didn't see Ron Logan?
Yeah. Ron Logan was seen by nobody.
Nope.
Seen by nobody. Hey, Grizz, how are you? Long time no see. So. But
we have been at this an hour and 5 minutes. I think we got our point across about Mr. Ricky Davis. We need to give, the people just need to
let it go.
Let it go with Ron Logan, period.
Yeah, let it go. And stop watching Bob Motta, for God's sakes.
Stop watching the defense backers because all they are trying to do is gain money and clicks for their channel. Yep. They are not putting any evidence out there.
None of this stuff is new.
No.
When they tell you that they've got new evidence, and when Vinnie Politan jumps on and says, oh, there's new evidence the defense has put out in Delphi. Come on.
It's the same evidence they've had for years.
Yeah, none of this stuff is new.
And please, these defense people, all they're worried about is making money and clicks. They have no evidence to prove Richard Allen didn't do it. There's not one lick of evidence that they can come up with to say he did not do it. Not one. If you guys are into that conspiracy crap, that's on you, but you're being lied to and you're basically being stolen from. They're stealing your money because they're lying to you. And you guys are falling for every last second of it. How'd you, I don't know anybody else, but do you like your money stolen from you? Kristin? Anybody in the chat? Do you like being lied to? So, and the person basically is giving you money for them to lie to you. My point said, the point is said, they are lying to you to make money, and you guys are falling for it. So you guys are being stolen from.
Yep. Oh, I lost all respect for Vinny over this case and who he was having on and how he was talking. I was like, I don't have any respect for him anymore.
How the hell did a June bug or no stink bug get in my apartment at 20 degrees outside?
Living in your
vents.
Vents.
Oh boy.
Vents. They live in your vents. They come out when it's warm.
Boy. But to end it on that note,
just take it and feed it to your spiders that are in your windows.
No. No. But I want to thank you, Kristin. We had a great chat tonight. And to all my mods, thank you for being here and hanging out. Everybody in the chat, thank you for showing up. Loving each and every one of you. Yep. Love you, Kristin.
I love you guys, and thank you so much, Shane, for having me.
Feel better soon.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna go hit the bed.
Okay. Until next time, guys.
I'll talk to you all later. Love you.
Peace
out. Good night, everybody.
One love. Good night, guys.